there everybody, Subordinate 2 aka Nightmare, and welcome back to the enjoyment that is Rose Guns Days Season 3. Last episode we had ourselves, well, if this beautiful little face over here off to the left is any just telling you right now, we had ourselves a little bit of a facade of a dinner party. Not really so much, just kind of a battle of threats, to say the least.
You were right, little May. At first, I thought Madame Rose was just a figurehead. I assumed Richard was the de facto leader.
That was incorrect, wasn't it?
Yep. My enemy is Madame Rose. Richard has a shorter temper than I thought. He'll be easy to deal with. If we want to leave someone in power, it's him. Without the charisma supplied by Rose, the short-tempered Richard cannot hold Primavera together. Primavera will collapse and disappear without us having to fight.
Honored brother, just now, you mentioned leaving him in power. Why are you going to try? Oh, that's what I was afraid of.
Let's erase Madame Rose.
However, if we leave the short-tempered Richard in power, isn't it possible he'll launch into a battle for revenge without regards for appearances?
There won't be a battle for revenge. We'll just have to disappear from a sudden unfortunate disease or accident. Let's use Ruby.
You don't regret losing her. If she stays undercover, there should be more uses for her.
The Japanese are a people that tend to grow arrogant. Once they mistakenly think they're on the same level as you, it doesn't take long for them to get the puffed head. Primavera's value ended when they defeated Caleb for us. It's time we close the curtain on City 23's Mafia games, don't you think?
Though personally, I doubt Primavera will prove to be such an easy foe. No, that's surely my inexperience talking. I look forward to seeing your work, honored brother.
Very well. I'll show you the new era of warfare.
Something tells me that Meiji was kind of, using Wong. Let's have a look at whether his so-called new era of warfare works on Primavera. Oh boy. So gonna use Ruby to get rid of... I had 2 minutes left of that entire exchange and I would have been... Okay. I should have gone further. Let's just see how this goes. Good work on this latest investigation, Wandering Dogs. Thank you very much. We've discovered that the mastermind you spotted was a core member of the GDS, Wang Yunhong. Going forward, the higher-ups will analyze what exactly they were planning. It's pretty obvious they were scheming to make some pocket money again, using Madame Rose's soy sauce.
Not sure what sort of big shot he is, but that's one cheap bastard.
Seriously, what a dirty VIP. Would such a big core member really do something so cheap against us just to earn some pocket money? If we just assume that, we'll waste the trump card we've worked so hard for. What does this incident mean, and how can we use it during negotiations? We'd better think carefully about that.
Yeah, Zell's definitely right. We fools shouldn't jump to conclusions.
And anyway, it's the bosses and higher-ups who will have to examine that. We're the Wandering Dogs. Our job is to sniff out prey and info and bring it back.
I heard you were unwell, but you seem to be in high spirits now. I'm relieved.
Thanks for your concern. Actually, it's pretty embarrassing to have one of the bosses hear about that.
Zell was fully back in high spirits. That dark atmosphere from before was completely gone. Zell had explained that she was just feeling bad because of a cold, and the other three had nodded. Of course, none of the three believed she'd had a cold. They thought her memory had probably come back, making her remember something painful. But despite this, Zell had come back here, and she was acting like nothing had happened, trying to regain her everyday life. So the other three decided to also act as though nothing had happened.
If Zell's in high spirits, we're incredibly strong.
Thanks to your recent cold, we now know full well how much we relied on you.
If you're relying on me so much, I'm not sure if I'm happy or embarrassed. Well, the four of us together are the wandering dogs. If even one of us is gone, there's no point.
Now you're talking tough. You guys are much cooler than someone who acts the lone wolf like me.
He said we're cool. Sweet.
Well, well. I can feel that fortune of ours rising.
Guess we really do need our goddess of good fortune to smile.
We'll keep doing better and better.
Of course. This isn't exactly a getting well celebration for Zell, but I brought you some good news today. Well, as usual, Richard Sons agreed to a fervent request of Zell's.
How'd you like them apples? We're in business again.
Achievements must be rewarded. Zell has worked hard on your behalf. As a result, in appreciation for all you've done so far, the 4 members of the Wandering Dogs have been invited to participate in this month's pasta gathering.
The pasta gathering.
Where the hell is freaking Leo when we need him? The 3 of them yelled and swayed as they considered those words.
The pasta gathering? I'm sure you've all heard at least the name before. That's right. We're talking about that pasta gathering, the one hosted by Madame Rose.
We get to eat Madame Rose's homemade pasta?
That's not it, fool! It's practically a meeting of Primavera's board of directors where Madame Rose, the Grand Boss, the Consigliere, and the bosses of all the crews participate.
So, Mero-san and Stella-san will be there too. Gah! Oh, that's just too awesomely awe-inspiring. I can't believe it. It's a chance to get all the other bosses to learn our names.
In other words, it's a huge chance for advancement.
Are we finally gonna make it big? Ah, come on, that's crazy. It's just a meeting with a meal. You're getting ahead of yourselves. But listen to this. It might not end as a mere dream.
I spoke with Zell about this, so I might as well tell you all now. You probably know that the Consigliere and I are preparing a personal bodyguard team for the matter. As an underworld boss, Madame Rose can find as many grin-faced, sunglass-wearing guards as she wanted. However, Primavera was also an organization for the support of its countrymen. It'd be pointless if the charitable woman who went around promoting mutual aid to fellow countrymen had to do it with a squad of creepy old men as guards. So finding some young, not grin-faced guards around Rose's own age was an urgent matter. The Madam is a woman. A group of all-male guards couldn't be with her all the time. In addition, such a team would need the sharp nose and fangs of guards, and would also need to understand each other and move with rapid coordination. As the 3 of them fidgeted, wondering, doesn't that sound a lot like us, Zell nodded energetically.
Yep, he's actually talking about us.
The Wandering Dogs satisfy all those conditions. You might say this pasta gathering will serve as your debut and interview as well. You can just act like you always do, is what I'd like to say, but don't do anything crude. You have to be elegant, so you don't tarnish Madame Rose's reputation.
If we make a bad show, it'll shame Wayne-san. So, Wandering Dogs, here's your next mission. Between now and the pasta gathering, you've got to learn how to behave in an elegant manner. The thing I'm worst at. Even pasta has rules and manners as to how you eat it. If you slurp it up, the other bosses will laugh at you.
You're kidding me! There are rules for eating things?
Don't be afraid, Wandering Dogs. Do you want to let this chance slip by? If they don't think we're a match for Madame Rose, we'll never move upwards. I'll do it.
There you go. Oliver's ready to do it. Charles and Nina, do you want to be left behind?
Just kidding. Of course an alley rat's just itching for a chance. If learning manners means we get to eat infinite seconds, I'm willing to put up with it.
If we're decided, let the training begin. So, we need your guidance.
I saw this coming, so I bought a bunch of books on table manners beforehand. It's a bit sudden, but the pasta gathering is in 3 days. Come on, let's give it our all.
That's pretty fucking early. That's pretty close, don't you think? The three of them kneeled and listened to Zell's lecture on manners. Wayne had quietly left so as not to disturb them, smiling faintly at their youthfulness. Of course, the three of them hadn't noticed Wayne leaving. Their youthful eyes were glowing with this opportunity, and they burned with a passionate fire. At the center of all their gazes was Zell. Her eyes also seemed to be burning. However, it's likely no one noticed the faint shadow deep behind those eyes. Zell had fiercely made a case for the wandering dogs participating in the pasta gathering. However, this pasta gathering was an opportunity for Holtarubi as well. What better way to get rid of Rose than be right next to her? Even the noise of Chinatown didn't extend to the back alleys. In a dimly lit, disorganized room that smelled like dust, several GDS underlings were gambling. The door opened and two young women came in.
Who's that?
Oh, hello there. You know who I am.
Oh, it's you, Xiaolon. I see you're as tiny as ever.
Do you want to I dare you to say that again, or else I'll rip your testicles off and then shove them down your own throat.
Oh god, sorry, Jesus.
As Xiaolon passed the man, she kicked him in the shin. Aww, you could have gone more brutal, but okay. The other men saw this and guffawed.
Hey, Xiaolon's companion here's a hottie. Hey, is that your friend? Come on, introduce us.
When the man made to hug her shoulder with an overly familiar gesture, his arm was twisted around and pinned behind his back.
Ow! The hell are you doing?
After struggling and breaking free, the man tried to tackle the woman.
Enough. Don't you know who that woman is?
Huh? She's not a whore Aniki called here?
That girl is Hotarubi.
Ah!
The man's eyes bulged and they jumped back from Zell. Zell lowered her hood, exposing her face. The appearance of her slender body shouldn't have been threatening enough to make those men jump back.
We've been waiting for you. Please, this way.
The two girls followed the boss and disappeared into the back of the building. The men were still watching their backs, stunned. This was Hotarubi, the legendary professional killer whispered about in the Chinese underworld. To think that she was such a slender girl who looked like she might be blown away by the wind. After remaining speechless for a while, the men started recounting the many terrible rumors surrounding Hotaru. However, when a professional killer becomes legendary, it means they've just about hit their expiry date. Even this sad job she did in exchange for her father's safety probably wouldn't continue on for long. In the back were several shells packed with small jars. Those jars are filled with strangely colored powders, liquids, and pastes. However, each one of these were secret medicines, which could have various effects on the human body, but which left no trace of their existence. Possibly poison Rose when they have the chance or something?
I was told to give you this poison. It's a very valuable poison. I know of none other that's magnificent. It is tasteless and odorless. It's impossible for anyone to notice when being served it. Administering a very small quantity will cause a heart attack and death a week later.
Jesus. It was a fearsome ultimate poison born from ancient wisdom. It brought death to the victim without them even realizing they had been poisoned. It is said to have been created by a genius chemist of some dynasty amidst thousands of years of history. However, the emperor of that time grew fearful of this too perfect poison, so he buried away both the chemist and the instructions for how to make it. However, several samples that had already been created were passed down to many influential men in history, and it was whispered that this was one of those extremely rare samples. Yeah, damn. The man handed over a small pouch. Zell wordlessly took it and put it in her pocket.
The target is Primavera's madam, Rose Hayabara. Your master desires for you to complete this task within the month.
That's not enough time. It's too short to wait for a chance to approach Madame Rose during a meal. Please, let me have at least 3 months. I'll finish my task without fail.
No. Your master desires for you to complete this task within the month. I'm sorry, but you cannot refuse, just as it's always been.
No way.
Are you alright? Do you think you can pull this off?
Probably not.
We've invested a lot so that you can gain the trust of Primavera's inner circle. Isn't it about time you gave us a return on our investment?
Everything from the very beginning had followed along with the scenario the GDS had thought up. Meiju had succeeded in making connections with Rose and was in the process of building a friendly relationship between the two families. However, some in the Council of the Elders suspected that Meiju, a member of the previous leader's faction, would conspire with Rose and raise the banner of revolution. So they had decided to send Hotarubi, their trump card, into Primavera. They hoped that she would observe the relationship between Primavera and Meiju, investigate internal matters, and if necessary, become an assassin. To do that, she would have to work her way into Primavera's inner circle. The shortest road to that would be to earn credit and gain the trust of the higher-ups. In particular, it would be effective if she could visibly protect Madame Rose from assassins. That sudden attack in Chiba was actually the work of the GDS. Oh! They hired Japanese hitmen and had them attack so that no one would know it was the GDS. Of course, the attack was always supposed to end in failure. They were fake assassins arranged simply for the purpose of earning Hotarubi credit. Xiaolan had told Zell about the attack right before it happened. In that instant, her memory had returned. Matters had proceeded as planned, and Hotarubi, alias Zell, had succeeded in earning a lot of trust from Wayne, Richard, and the rest. It's probably just a matter of time before the wandering dogs, Zell included, were chosen to be Madame Rose's team of personal guards. When that happened, Rose's life and death would always be at the GDS's fingertips.
If you care for your father's safety, you will do good work. If you stumble, if something happens that lets them know the GDS was behind this, you'll probably never see your father again.
I understand. I'll do it. I'll assassinate Madame Rose.
And happy music, hooray! Blood Primavera was a nighttime establishment. It was normal for executive guests to have lines of luxury cars parked in front of the club. However, today it seemed to be flourishing even in the middle of the day with a line of several cars out front. However, all the people coming out of those cars were grim-faced men who didn't look remotely like guests. One after another, the bosses of the crews serving under Primavera arrived and were welcomed in. The cars of glaring, grim-faced men surrounded the club, preventing any passerbys from coming near it. Rose had asked that they avoid disturbing the neighborhood as much as possible, but if they wanted to gather together Primavera's VIPs, there was no way around this. After all, the pasta gatherings were no longer small parties held with close friends to save money. However, inside the club was filled with cheery music and happy smiles. The bosses of all the crews were jostling about there. They drank, sang, and danced with beautiful women, and enjoying the lively stand-up style lunch party. However, though it was called a pasta gathering, the tables were all lined with light foods such as crackers and sandwiches. Pasta sticks together if it isn't freshly boiled. It wasn't well suited for serving such a large group. Though it was a pasta gathering, none of them got a chance to eat pasta.
God damn it, I was lied to!
The only ones who got to eat pasta were the bosses allowed into the meal meeting with Madame Rose. They were gathered in the VIP room. Unlike the bustling hall, this place had an elegant feel with classical records playing. However, these were battle-seasoned bosses. They ignored that atmosphere and enjoyed a merry meal.
Anyway, it's all about being popular. We heroes in this city, right?
I think we outcasts get to walk around openly under the sun.
Don't get cocky. The madam's the hero, not us soldiers.
I agree. We don't deserve any respect after all the protection money we grabbed during Caleb's day.
That's what's sad about being a soldier. If you lose, everyone down to the lowest ranks is a criminal. And even if you win, you can never wipe away the blood that's covered you. But you can't win at shogi without pawns. Without us soldiers, no one can fight wars.
As always, I'm really grateful to all of you. We live in the underworld. It just so happens that everyone is welcoming us now, but it isn't usually that way. There may come a day when we'll have to be feared and avoided by the people because of the fight to protect our countrymen.
Ha, perfect! Who cares if they hate us? That's just what I'd want if it means I can fight for our countrymen. Well said, Cyrus. Now that's the spirit of a soldier.
Thanks for everything, all of you. I never forget the gratitude I feel towards you. Please continue to lend me your strength for Primavera and our countrymen.
Our war isn't over. This time it's let's really die for our countrymen and our homeland.
Glory be to Madame Rose.
To Primavera.
The bosses let out war cries and clinked their glasses together. It truly was a manly world for soldiers only. So Stella, Meryl, and Richard and Wayne were relaxing at a different table a short distance away.
The town of Primavera's really changed, hasn't it? It used to be a collective of women, but now it's mostly men. Isn't that wonderful? Now everyone will realize you are a woman. How the heck are you saying? Fuck you!
True. Primavera has changed. It changed ever since the time Rose decided that she wanted to guide our countrymen.
I simply obey Rose-san.
Must be nice to be so straightforward. Well, I guess it's not so bad. Now, to tell the truth, I'm a bit uneasy. Well, I understand that. We used to spend our days dazzling our clients, fighting to see how much we could loosen their wallets and getting fawned over by men. Well, no matter how much they put on airs, a lady of the evening is still a lady of the evening. It was never a trade that let us walk openly under the sun.
Isn't that good then? Now you get to fight for your countrymen and walk out in the open.
What Rose is trying to do is splendid, and I respect her for it. Still, if it isn't something we were ladies of the evening could ever have anticipated, well, to be honest, it feels like I'm living in someone else's dream. Don't you think so, big brother? The thought that our Primavera would become something like this.
I am surprised by this swift change. However, it's something that someone had to do. Ever since I started raising Yuji, that's been made very clear to me, day in and day out.
Just when they thought Yuji, the nephew that Richard was raising, had been a baby until a few days ago, he was already 2 years old. Those days when he had thought about childcare and the society of his countrymen at the same time seemed to have quietly changed him.
If you end up raising kids, I'm sure you'll realize that it isn't enough to fill your days with fun things alone.
Rose is in the right, and so is Primavera. The people in the city have been able to regain their smiles. That really is wonderful. It's really a perfect skull.
So what is it that's bothering you?
Have you ever been playing in the ocean when you suddenly realize that you've drifted a long way from the shore?
I've never played in the ocean, actually.
Reform always stirs up unrest. However, we aren't allowed to succumb to fear and lose the courage needed to overcome our situation.
Yeah, you're right. It's not like we're complaining or anything. I'm just trying to say that everything's changing so quickly, I can't really settle down. First the war, then the great disaster, and then Primavera. The eras are passing so fast it makes my head spin.
The passage of time is equal for everyone. If it's starting to feel quicker, doesn't that just mean you're getting old and slow?
Oh, now even Little Wayne's starting to fight back. You've gotten a lot more dignified ever since you became a boss. Isn't it about time you got a girlfriend?
Don't mock me. I'm going to stick with this. There's no time for playing around. I'll stick with this no matter what, until Rose-san overcomes this era.
Of all the people Primavera has employed, you were the best catch.
After Leo, you mean?
In the past, he would have said this sarcastically, but Wayne's face was at ease. People, the city, and Primavera. Everything was changing at a hectic rate. Of course, human history will probably continue for at least 100 or 200 years into the future. There probably won't be another bunch of years this hectic during those 1 or 2 centuries. Living during this time of upheaval had a strange sense and feel about it. That may have been what Wayne felt.
Richard looked at Wayne with his newfound composure and considered the passing of the ages.
Shall I fill your glass, Consigliere?
Oh, thank you.
Zell appeared holding a bottle of mineral water. With a refined motion, she poured at the perfect time to avoid interrupting the conversation. Oh, there's the poison. There it is.
Would you ladies like some too?
Sure, I'll take some.
Oh, you're pretty quick on your feet. If you ever get in a fight with Wayne, come over to my group. I'll take good care of you.
Stop trying to steal people from my crew.
Have you wandering dogs been getting enough to eat? How about the other three?
With a forced smile, Zell pointed towards a corner. Just as expected, Oliver and Charles are completely frozen up from the tension.
I can't believe I'm sitting in front of food and can't eat it.
The pasta looks as hard as steel.
I can't bring myself to stick my fork in it.
The two of them were staring at the pasta, quivering with forks in their hands. Their heads were probably spinning with dozens of table manners. It was only natural. Wayne, the boss they adored so much, was a junior member here. The bosses were a bunch of valorous men from the battlefront. There was no way the dogs could join in on their conversation. Just a day ago, they had been planning to sell themselves to the bosses and make their names known, but...
Hey, Missy, I'll have seconds too.
Okay. And the rest of you, how would you like some seconds?
I'll take some too. Yeah, just pile it right on there.
Apparently she thought it was less awkward to act like a waitress than it was to freeze up like Oliver and Charles. Even though she'd gotten a precious invitation to participate in the pasta gathering, she was basically acting like hired help.
My.
With a pained smile, Richard rose to his feet and walked towards Rose's seat. Rose had been going around the boss's seats pouring drinks, but when Richard whispered in her ear, she immediately came this way.
I'm sorry to have left you out in the cold, Oliver Kuhn, Charles Kuhn. Wayne Kuhn, could you bring Zell-chan and Nina-chan here too?
Shall we move to a different room? Here, we'll get sucked into their atmosphere and we won't be able to relax.
As Richard's suggestion, they all took plates piled with pasta and glasses and moved into the madam's office.
I'm sorry, everyone. I invited you hoping it would go well, but it looks like it was stressful instead.
That's not the case.
We are relaxing. The heck sort of dialect's that? I'm sorry we're so tense.
If something like this makes you tense up, you won't be able to serve as Madame Rosa's god, now will you?
Those words made the wandering dog sit up straight.
Thanks so much for what you did at Chiba. Without your cleverness, it would have been terrible.
They're still green, but their noses as back alley rats are a force to be reckoned with. When they coordinate as a team, they can do things that surprise even me.
Now that's high praise from Mad Dog Wayne. No, forgive me, I wasn't trying to make fun of you. If Wayne gives such an enthusiastic stamp of approval, then your ability is the real thing.
It sort of feels like I'm in a dream. Don't get cocky. We're still being tested. You've all already heard about it, haven't you? I want to ask you to become my team of guards.
We're so grateful for your words. We'll do our best.
Oliver, you're getting too excited.
Shut up! At least I didn't say relaxing like you. Their youthful reactions are entertaining, but they'll have to learn to focus their concentration more.
Of course. I'll personally pound it into them. When I'm not around, I'll leave the guarding to you. That means you'll have to reach up to my level. Of course! We'll work like our lives depend on it.
We're alley rats. We were shunned just because we were alive. And now not only have people acknowledged that we exist, but they're counting on us.
Yes. I wouldn't regret losing my life.
Whoa, oh crap, now I'm even more excited than tense. I'm on fire. We'll work super hard. We'll definitely become strong enough to serve as Wayne-san's right-hand men.
Very promising. I'm expecting a lot from you. Half crying, the three of them expressed their enthusiasm in their own ways. The orphaned children, whom no one had acknowledged before, had been acknowledged for the first time. They had surely received a jolt that would turn their world and lives upside down. They wanted to be strong, cool, underworld men. They were just a step away from having their dream come true. But their dream wouldn't come true. This opportunity for their dream to rise to the level of Madame Rose's personal guard would not come. After all, Madame Rose would be poisoned today. If a large number of core members suddenly died, then poison would be suspected no matter how perfect the poison was. So Rose must be the only one poisoned. Zell had been serving drinks, waiting for the right time to come, but it never came. They had moved to another room, but everyone had brought plates of pasta and glasses with them. They'd probably continue a smaller pasta gathering here. Since people were still eating and drinking, there was still a chance. This was the first and last chance for poisoning Madame Rose.
It sounds simple to ask you to be my guards. However, it's the same as asking you to bear the brunt of any danger that comes to me.
We were prepared. Or we are prepared. It would be an honor to die in your place.
My. How brave.
In that case, I'd like to start with why I must not die now.
Well, no one wants to die.
Shh! Shut up and listen. What I say doesn't leave this room. Don't tell anyone. Can you promise me that?
They all nodded silently. Rose smiled and nodded back.
You see, I think the Japanese are lazy people.
Oliver and the others were taken aback, unable to believe that this was coming from Madame Rose, Lady of Charity and the leader of her Japanese countrymen. It's definitely different, but I'm willing to hear her out. However, Rose smiled gently. Apparently, she wasn't saying it as an insult.
There's nothing bad about them being lazy. Laziness was a Japanese virtue.
On a world scale, it's rare to find nations as lazy as Japan is on various matters. Their lack of concern for crime prevention is particularly noteworthy, and they think even protecting one's own life is a dirty thing. No, that's not quite right. They think being suspicious as people is an evil thing. So protecting against crime means you suspect your neighbor, making it evil. Taking preventative measures means you're suspicious, which is evil. That's why they developed a strange culture, where people openly expose themselves to harm, communicating their trust by being defenseless. What's the ideal downtown life that comes to the minds of all Japanese people? A disorderly but warm scene with small houses packed in tightly. If you put your futon out to dry on the balcony, you'd strike up a conversation with the housewife on the opposite balcony. The neighborhood kids dash around in groups, and the housewives forget their children as they enjoy a good gossip. The husband casually goes into his neighbor's yard, saying, "Oh, it's been a while since we played Go, so how about a game?" And they start a match under the eaves. A scene from a Japanese utopia where everyone interacts like family. All the neighbors treat each other like family. Even ringing a doorbell is overly formal. In this world, setting up barriers to people is unrefined, even violent. So everyone becomes defenseless, showing their trust. And everyone responding to that trust does not harm their neighbors, even though they are defenseless. It's the people called the Japanese who hold this strange utopia as an ideal. However, it goes without saying that the world isn't overflowing with mercy. You protect yourself by your own hand. That's the unwritten rule of the world.
Back during the time Japan isolated itself, cutting off its ties from the world, that was still fine. However, when the black ships came and opened the country, Japan was faced with harsh reality.
When they turned their eyes outside of Japan, they found a world where people killing and eating each other was a natural thing. At that time, the world was all about invading and getting invaded. Advancing nations used their military power to invade underdeveloped countries, and they ruled over them for entire centuries. Would anyone choose to be invaded? This bizarre people who viewed defenselessness as a way to display their trust received a terrible shock when the country was opened.
You know what happened next? Japan switched gears into becoming a militant nation as though overcome by panic. Of course, after lavishing in our centuries of defenseless peace, we couldn't become lions all of a sudden.
Perhaps the phrase "weak dogs howl the most" applies here. They howled at China and the West at the same time, picking fights one after another, without considering the relative strengths between countries. Almost like an elementary schooler who's just entered his rebellious period. And what happened next goes without saying. Japan ended up paying for its long period of peace, and for failing to cultivate its character by interacting with the world.
The Japanese are lazy. A foolish people who rely on the goodwill of others even for their own protection. And most importantly, they're immature compared to the other peoples of the world. We're nothing more than children in an international society that's matured.
Japan is just a child in an international society. That certainly wasn't just a personal opinion held by Rose alone. Measured by the standards of some modern civilization, they would be like a boy of 12 as compared with our development of 45 years. That was a statement made later, in 1951, by MacArthur to the American Senate Armed Services and Foreign Relations Committees. The Japanese at the time, who didn't really understand its true meaning, were very indignant at being treated like children. But Rose spoke with assurance.
No, the Japanese aren't children. Because our country was isolated and positioned at the eastern tip of the world, we've been no more than children idling our time away until today. During that time, the world grew through interactions with neighboring countries, gaining strength and resilience. It'll be very hard for us to catch up starting now, but if we continue to get buried by American and Chinese immigrants, the Japanese people will most likely certainly be destroyed in the near future. This Tokyo scenery we have, like something from a foreign country, will become the usual in Japan.
Rose calmly and cold-bloodedly predicted Japan's near future. Surely it was faintly visible in the depths of her eyes. A future where the Japanese don't act like Japanese. No. A future where the Japanese are destroyed. Oliver and the others gulped at the tangible presence of that future.
We won't content ourselves with waiting for that future to come. Primavera must be the breakwater.
And we must be the guides for our countrymen. Amidst the crowds of immigrants from Western and Eastern countries, the Japanese have to realize. We have to realize that we must become strong. We must learn how to work hard to protect ourselves, to graduate from the laziness that lets us lavish in the goodwill of others, as though it's perfectly natural. I think that only when that happens will the Japanese be able to sit on an even footing with the Americans and Chinese, and share in prosperity. That's the ideal I hold, as a person who loves this country. I have to guide them, so that the people can learn diligence and resilience from the Americans and the Chinese. That may take a long time, and I might not be able to accomplish it on my own. So, at least until that time comes, I must not die, no matter what. Not until the Japanese find the strength to get by in the world. Or at least, not until they start walking down that path.
When she finished talking, Rose drank all the water left in her glass in one gulp. Even though her expression had been a bit scary a second ago, it was peaceful again now.
Sorry for talking so much. However, I want you to think about this. At this rate, our culture will be lost.
That water had poison in it, didn't it?
Losing our culture means losing the community of our countrymen. What happens at warm family get-togethers? Aren't they overflowing with Japanese culture and tradition? Please try and remember. Remember celebrating the Japanese New Year and Setsubun and Himatsuri with your families. In the summer, there was Tanabata and the Bone Festival, and in autumn, that was Otsukimi, right?
Zell was stunned, but she remembered back just as Rose had asked. And what she saw was her father, her mother, her big sister, and her little brothers, all of them. She recalled fond memories of the Japanese New Year. Mother. She was strict sometimes, but she was so kind. My big sister was a meanie. Whenever I got something even a little cool, she'd say, "You're still too young for this," and take it. But she was always the one who beat up the bullies. My little brothers are small, so whenever there was an event going on, they'd get excited and run around. I must have picked up my big sister's bad habits. My little brothers tried to do all sorts of things, but I always scolded them, saying they were too young. If I'd known what would happen later, I would have let them do whatever they wanted as much as they liked. However, just remembering that heartwarming New Year's family get-together made my eyes water.
Madame Rose is saying she wants to protect that. At this rate, if the Japanese are swallowed up by American and Chinese culture, that heartwarming scene of the Japanese New Year will vanish too. When that happens, I might not be able to remember that family get-together anymore. At long last, tears began to fall from my eyes. I couldn't stop them. It wasn't just that I'd been drawn back into warm memory. This person, this Madame Rose, was trying to protect my only happy memory. No one else protected me. I had to sacrifice my body just to live. So my only reason for living was my tie to my father. I thought that, as long as I could cling to that, I didn't need anything else. This Madame Rose was trying to protect the truly precious memories of my whole family. Zell? I'm sorry. That's strange. I can't stop crying.
Rosan, their families are...
Oh, I'm sorry. That was thoughtless of me. Please, don't take it badly.
Of course we won't take it badly. We're back alley rats. However, we had families until the Great Disaster.
We usually keep it holed up deep inside us. We don't remember it too often, but for every last one of us, it's the one treasure we could never throw away.
It's the one treasure we could never throw away, isn't it? Come to think of it, Nina was looking a bit teared up too. Even these self-styled alley rats once had families, and they all had memories they could never abandon. Madame Rose understood this, and she protected those memories. You could tell from their solemn gazes that they all understood Rose's greatness.
I've talked so much, my throat is getting dry. Zell, there's a bottle of mineral water over there. Could you fill my glass?
Oh no. Okay, prediction. I have a sickening feeling that she's actually going to go through with it and poison Rose. With absolute defenselessness, she handed her empty glass to me. The bottle of mineral water was on the side table by the wall. It was perfectly positioned to create a blind spot with my back while pouring. Why, Madame Rose? You claim that defenselessly trusting people is what makes the Japanese fools. Why do you trust me? I took her glass. I could tell that my fingers were shaking. They were shaking as much as... no, more than the first time I killed a person. Why? I know. All the people I've killed in the past have been villains who've taken advantage of the misfortune of many others. All their heads were filled with nothing but selfish desires, and they never gave a thought for the happiness of others. But this person's different. This is a person who must not be allowed to die. I turned my back to them and picked up the bottle of mineral water from the side table. If I just fill this glass and put the poison in, it'll be over. The poison was inside a ring-shaped assassin's tool. When used, a small pill would fall out. It would melt rapidly without leaving any smell or taste, and with just a single gulp, the victim would die from a heart attack a week later. No one would think it any more than an unfortunate sudden illness. Even the victim wouldn't realize that she had been poisoned. There was no antidote. If you swallowed it, death was certain. What'll happen if I hesitate to poison her? My mission will fail, my father's life will end. To protect my father's life, I must kill Madame Rose, the one who's trying to protect my family's memories. My family's memories and my father are both precious treasures to me. I can't abandon either of them, but I can only protect one of them. There's no getting around it. It's for my father, after all. Looks like Madame Rose really has to die. My mind went blank, and I thought I could hear my father scolding me. No, father would be happy to have his daughter become a murderer for his own sake. No, I'm acting like a spoiled brat. I'm just forcing my reason for murder, my sin, upon my father. I'm being unfaithful to my parents. Father was right. I just can't stop clinging to my parents. Father told me to separate from my parents, to put myself first. If soul, my soul is whispering to me. Madame Rose, this person must not be killed. Don't do it, Zell, come on! If I drop the poison into that quivering surface of water, it'll all end. If I raise my hand to the glass like this, and twist the device on the ring just a little, the pill will fall and melt. I can't do it, Father. Madame Rose's ideals feel as important to me as you do. What should I do? I slowly pulled back the hand that I'd raised above the surface of the water. I hadn't dropped the poison. Just thinking about what that meant made my mind go blank. It tingled, I swayed, I shivered. But this is right. Father, this is okay, right? When I picked up the swirling glass and turned around, my heart leapt. Because right before my eyes and nose, Madame Rose was standing there smiling. In other words, she had been standing right behind me the whole time. She'd been watching every move I made from over my shoulder. My voice froze. Her gaze pierced me and I thought I was going to suffocate. However, she was smiling.
Thank you, Zell.
Madame Rose?
Thank you for protecting my life.
She had seen through all of it. I didn't know why, but she had figured out that I was trying to poison her.
After all, that ring doesn't suit you.
I immediately tried to hide the ring, but it was too late. My mind was completely blank. How did you guess? How did it? I let it slip. No. In the next moment, my body moved regardless of my will. I've been a mistress for so many underworld bosses. I've seen people getting killed like it was a show over and over again. I'll be killed, and killed brutally, humorously and mercilessly. Fear raced through my body. I dashed out of the room before I knew what I was doing. I dashed through the packed hall towards the exit, bouncing off people's shoulders. It had grown dim outside, and it was starting to drizzle. The cool outside air felt as cold and as concrete. I felt as though my lungs would be filled with that merciless, icy concrete and frozen solid. But if I stopped, I'd die. I could remember those many brutal deaths. People with their ears, arms, and legs cut off before they died. I remember the time my brothers were killed. I remember the time my sister was killed. I remember the time my mother was killed. No, make it stop! Zell ran through an intersection with a red light and was bathed in the sound of car horns. Consumed by a fear so great, it was like the whole city was trying to swallow her whole. Zell was unable to stop. At that moment, Zell's hand was grabbed from behind. Stop! Let go! Let go!
Zell, calm down, damn it! What's wrong? What happened all of a sudden?
Charles didn't know what he was doing either. As he refused to let Zell wrench her hand free from his grasp, the two of them fell into a puddle. Oliver and Nina caught up with them a second later.
Dang, you guys are fast.
What on earth happened? Why did you suddenly run away, Zell?
Honestly, that really just shows how mature, like, Rose has gotten. Like, even then, she had her suspicions. Leo trained you well, girl.
Let go! Let go! We don't even know what's wrong. Anyway, we've got to calm her down.
She's all drenched. She'll get cold at this rate.
Carry her to the music shop. Wayne-san, what on earth? Basically, Zell's an assassin hired to kill Madame Rose.
Huh? Huh? What are you talking about, Aniki Wayne? Zell wouldn't do that. I won't anyone insult Zell like that, not even you. I won't.
Stop, Charles. Wayne-san, is that true?
I don't believe it. I won't even let you get away with saying that, Aniki Wayne.
Zell's an assassin? She's an enemy?
Her code name's Hotarubi. I hear she's a talented, treasured professional killer of Chinatowns.
Holy shit, they were ahead of the game on this. My God. Wait a minute.
Bijou!
A professional killer? Zell is? That's insane!
Normally I would have preferred to strangle her on the spot, but Rose-san told me not to. It's time for you to talk, Zell. I made the mistake of trusting you, someone who never received the baptism of the alleys. My naivety is partially responsible. Take her to the music shop. Oliver, Charles,
Make sure she doesn't get away. Yes, boss.
You're kidding, right, Aniki?
Wayne didn't answer and turned to face away from her. Oliver bit back his remaining hesitation and grabbed Zell's right arm. Not with gentleness as he would an ally, but as an enemy. Charles hesitantly took Zell's left arm. But after just touching it, he slowly lowered his arm. Charles.
This has got to be a lie. It's gotta be, right, Zell? Tell me it's a lie. I'm sorry.
Zell.
I'm sorry, everyone. I'm so sorry. You're lying! I don't believe it! This has gotta be a lie. Isn't it, Aniki, Wayne? Tell me it's a lie! Aniki!
Chapter 4. Wong's next move. End. So they knew. Or... Well, at least they probably found out, actually. Okay. I was afraid that she was going to go through with it, but after hearing Rose's speech and seeing her inner turmoil, Zell is not heartless. I'm just going to refer to her as Zell because Hotarubi is the assassin, and Zell is... Zell is Zell, basically. Though I am wondering how this is going to proceed now that everybody knows who she really is, and the assassination attempt failed. The bargaining chip that they have against Zell right now is that they have her father, or the GDS has her father, but I'm wondering if they know about her situation. They know that she's an assassin. They know a good portion of her history, but do they know why, or her situation right now? I'm wondering if that might help a little bit. Oh well. Anyway, if you all like this, be sure to let me know. I'm going to go rest my throat a little bit. I was going to go a little bit further, but I don't know. Something's not right now. But anyway, let's cover this. There's no use in me apologizing for me getting too into character. I'm having way too much fun getting fully into character, so if I start to lose myself a little bit, that's all good. But, I am wondering how this is going to play out, though. I'm still wondering how the hell they managed to figure out that she was Hotarubi. But anyway, we'll figure this out later. So anyway, thank you all very much for watching, and I will definitely see all of you guys in the next